There is a coffee in this world made from animal droppings. There is a coffee where people throw chunks of cheese straight into the cup. There is one drink that replaces milk with whipped egg cream. And in some countries, coffee isn't just a beverage. It's treated like a sacred ritual. Most of us think coffee means espresso, latte, maybe cappuccino. But around the world, people drink coffee in ways so strange that some of these beverages feel more like desserts, soups, or full-blown experiments. Today, we're looking at 15 of the most unusual coffee drinks on Earth. And trust me, the further we go, the weirder it gets. Let's start in Italy, where someone decided coffee should also be dessert. Affogato is a scoop of vanilla gelato, or ice cream, literally drowned in a shot of hot espresso. In fact, affogato means drowned. At first, it sounds simple. But within seconds, the bitter heat of the espresso starts melting the cold sweet cream, turning the entire thing into something between coffee, dessert, and liquid tiramisu. And this is still one of the normal ones, because Vietnam took things a step further and replaced milk with eggs. Vietnamese Egg Coffee was invented in Hanoi in 1946, when fresh milk was hard to find. So one bartender started whipping egg yolks with sugar and condensed milk into a thick, sweet foam, then spooned it over strong, dark coffee. The result looks like coffee hidden under a layer of custard, and people who try it usually describe it the same way: liquid tiramisu. One of Europe's most iconic iced coffees was created completely by accident. Greek frappe was invented in 1957 when a Nescafé employee couldn't find any hot water, so he threw instant coffee and cold water into a shaker, shook it up, and noticed it produced this thick, foamy top. That accidental moment became the national coffee drink of Greece. Sometimes innovation is just caffeine mixed with inconvenience. In Mexico, coffee is supposed to warm your entire body. Café de Olla is brewed in a clay pot with cinnamon and piloncillo, an unrefined cane sugar with a deep molasses flavor. And that clay pot actually matters. It gives the drink a subtle, earthy note that a normal machine can't reproduce. This isn't fast coffee. This tastes like winter mornings, family kitchens, and something simmering over fire for hours. If a latte feels too milky and espresso feels too aggressive, there's a middle ground. Cortado, also known in some cafes as a Gibraltar, is espresso with just enough steamed milk to soften the acidity without hiding the coffee. It's the drink for people who want to look like serious coffee purists, but aren't emotionally ready for straight espresso yet. But in Ethiopia, coffee is not something you grab and go. Ethiopian coffee ceremony can last up to 2 hours. Raw green beans are roasted in front of guests, then hand ground, then brewed in a clay pot called a jabina, and finally served in 3 separate rounds, each with its own symbolic meaning. The final round is called baraka, blessing. So in Ethiopia, coffee isn't just caffeine. It's hospitality, conversation, ceremony, and spirituality, all poured into one cup. And speaking of spirituality, Senegal has a coffee that is deeply tied to religion. Café Touba is brewed with a West African spice called dujar, sometimes along with cloves. The flavor is spicy, warm, and almost medicinal. It's named after the holy city of Touba and strongly associated with the Murid Sufi Brotherhood, which means this is one of the few coffees in the world where every sip carries religious meaning. Now prepare yourself, because in northern Finland, people put cheese in their coffee. Kaffeost is made by dropping cubes of a squeaky mild cheese into a hot cup of black coffee. The cheese doesn't melt. It just softens, absorbs the coffee, and sits there soaking everything in. You drink the coffee first. Then you eat the coffee-soaked cheese with a spoon. Yes, somewhere in the world, people finish coffee with wet, caffeinated cheese. And if you think iced coffee was invented by Starbucks, not even close. Mazagran is widely considered one of the earliest ancestors of modern iced coffee. French soldiers in Algeria were drinking cold coffee as far back as the 1840s because milk was scarce and the heat was brutal. So iced coffee existed more than a century before it became aesthetic enough for Instagram. Spain looked at coffee and apparently decided this needs to be more like candy. Café bonbon is espresso layered over a thick base of sweetened condensed milk. Before stirring, it forms this perfect two-tone glass, dark on top, white on the bottom. After stirring, it tastes less like coffee and more like someone melted a coffee-flavored dessert into a cup, which makes sense because bonbon literally means sweet treat. Now for some modern chaos. Bulletproof coffee is regular brewed coffee blended with butter and MCT oil. The concept became huge among keto and low-carb followers because it's supposed to provide long-lasting energy without a sugar crash. So yes, Someone once looked at black coffee and thought, you know what this needs? Butter? And somehow, millions of people agreed. In Cuba, coffee isn't just sweet, it's aggressively sweet. Café Cubano is made by whipping the very first drops of espresso with sugar until it forms a pale caramel foam, then pulling the rest of the shot through it. So the sugar isn't added at the end. It's built into the drink from the very first second. The result is a tiny, dense, syrupy caffeine punch. In 2020, the entire internet suddenly became obsessed with a coffee that looked like a cloud. Dalgona coffee is made by whipping instant coffee, sugar, and hot water into a thick, fluffy cream, then spooning it over cold milk. It exploded during lockdown because millions of people had the same thought. I have nowhere to go. I might as well spend 15 minutes whisking coffee for a TikTok. And somehow, that became a global beverage trend. Now for the most controversial coffee on earth. Kopi Luwak is made from coffee beans that have first been eaten and digested by an Asian palm civet. Yes, literally. The animal eats the coffee cherries. The beans pass through its digestive tract. Then humans collect them from the droppings, clean them, roast them, and sell them for hundreds of dollars per pound. The theory is that enzymes inside the civet reduce bitterness and change the flavor profile. But today, the drink is also heavily criticized because many civets are kept in cages and force-fed for mass production. So the most expensive coffee in the world is also one of the most ethically questionable. So while most of us are still debating latte versus cappuccino, other parts of the world are drinking coffee with eggs, with cheese, with butter, with pepper, with condensed milk, or after it's been digested by an animal, which is probably the best reminder that one simple bean can turn into almost anything: a sacred ritual, a dessert, a survival drink, or a completely insane experiment. So tell me in the comments, which one of these would you actually try? And which one would you never touch in your life? And if you want part 2 with even stranger drinks from around the world, you already know what to do.